when I was in New York, they Cheney admitted that they shot it down.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, they shot that plane down. But yeah, it seems like it does seem like the Pentagon was hit by a missile, not a plane. That's for sure.
Can you see that?
If you see the footage, like.
Can you see this?
Yeah, I can.
Just so you can see what you look like.
Okay.
That was hit by a missile. Pentagon was hit by a missile.
Yeah, it just seems like for sure.
Okay. So look, we want to get started, you know, so we can keep everything going. He's talking about he's talking say something. I already tried, that's why I said I'm not going to.
Okay.
We're just going to go ahead and get started.
We checking them out, okay.
This is going down low. Do you think it's okay? It's
no planes hit the Twin Towers. No plane hit the Twin Towers. No plane hit the Pentagon.
Let's talk about Tupac.
Yeah, which one's the old versions and new versions? I think that's the old version. Yeah. Okay. Okay, I can recognize him. I'm pretty sure I can look at it and see the I know that one's old, but that's whatever. It's fine. Alright.
So good evening, ladies and gentlemen.
Hi, my name is John Potash, and I'm the author of the FBI War on Tupac Shakur and Black Leaders. Glad to have you here. Thanks for coming.
All right. Thank you. Yes.
So, you want me to sit with you?
Whatever you'd rather, Tyson. However you want to do it, but sitting with me would be good. Sure.
What's that?
Yeah. Sitting here and asking questions, whatever you want to do, or you want me just to talk?
I think I would want you to talk today.
Yeah.
Let's talk today, and then I want these guys, since I interviewed you last time and I came interviewed you last time, let's talk and see what these guys, I know they'll come up with some good questions.
Okay. Alright, you guys...
Can you hear him?
Yeah. You guys want me to give you just a summary introduction first? Give you maybe 10, 15 minutes?
Yeah. Think about the fact that it's the world watching, not just the inside. It's the world.
Okay, and you want me to look at the camera or look at these guys? Whichever you think.
Look at these guys.
Okay. Alright, so I think one of you guys knows it, one of you guys doesn't, right?
Yeah,
John, you getting into the WikiLeaks stuff?
I don't know that much
Move
about
over a little bit.
But
to the middle.
I definitely appreciate, what he was doing.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
They whistleblowers. They put information out there that they don't want to get it out.
They put information that they don't want out.
Right.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Wow. I forgot his name, but
I can't think of his name.
Yeah, but it's great they did it.
Oh yeah.
Publishing all of his government documents and all that crap we're doing overseas.
Right. I'll tell you, TV I like called RT.
That's Russian TV.
Russian TV.
That's Russian TV.
Yeah.
They've been down here, interviewed us and everything.
Yeah, I love that.
I think our team is great. Yeah.
1, 2.
Source information.
Source information. I never heard of it.
RT TV, yeah.
Yeah, it's online. It's Russian TV.
Oh, okay.
It's on regular TV network, like 35 minutes.
Regular TV. Okay. It's on cable too. It's on cable. Oh, okay.
I'm not sure. Every network is different.
I don't know if they're cable. I don't know. I don't watch TV.
It's on cable channels.
I just do know that they don't hold no questions.
What?
They tell you like it is.
Oh, okay.
By the way.
Okay.
Just set them up.
Good source of information.
Good source of information. Oh, okay. That's good to know. Wow.
Some people have something to look at.
I need some religion from you too. Sometimes those people is good. Some people say, but I don't know. Man. You don't.
Sometimes. I mean, I go to this place down here on Rodney Sun. They got some vegetarian dishes.
Oh yeah.
What's the name of the place down on Rodney Sun?
It's Caribbean Feast.
Caribbean Feast, right?
You know what's funny? I tell people that I do the Instagram now, and I went in there to get something to eat last night, and I took a picture of the vegetarian, that everybody responded. Okay. Like I got responses from the West Coast as well. Like, yo, I gotta go there when I come to Philly.
Yeah, they get vegetarian. I didn't know they get like you can get like curry, vegetarian curry.
For real?
Yeah. But vegetarian curry chicken. So they use like tofu and they use curry spices.
You find that there was something very sinister going on in Death Row Records. There was eventually, of course, eventually there was an investigation by a man named Russell Poole, who was a high-level police detective in Los Angeles. He found dozens and dozens of his fellow police officers at all levels of Death Row Records. And he said this on film for the film Biggie and Tupac. He also gave over all his police records to a mainstream journalist who published it in a book called Labyrinth. And he says he asked his superiors, what are all my fellow officers doing at all levels of this rap label? And his superiors told them you could call them covert agents, because he was white. Russell Poole was white. They thought, oh, he'd be in on it. He'd be racist and in on it and wouldn't blow the whistle. But he didn't want to keep his mouth shut about it. So he tried to tell people. They made his life hell in the police department. He was forced to resign to get this word out that they basically that Death Row Records looked to be an intelligence front company. Now he didn't put it that way, but he described everything that shows that was a U.S. intelligence front company. They, at the same time as they promoted Tupac's next album, they were giving him tons of weed and alcohol. He produced his next album, the double album All Eyes on Me, really messed up one, Drunk and Stoned. Half the album was produced within 24 hours, Drunk and Stoned. So they had his most negative lyrics that he's ever produced on All Eyes on Me. Now there are great songs. Tupac's a genius, and he's just a great writer. He's great with tunes and melodies, and a great singer, great rapper. But there was most negative lyrics. Now his next album after that, which would be his third record, third CD, which fulfilled his Death Row contract, was more political. Illuminati, Machiavelli, Illuminati, 7-Day Theory, where he has White Man's World on there, where he quotes Malcolm X, and he has some political songs on there. Now another aspect I didn't tell you about all this was the fact that Tupac was only pretending to be a gangster in order to appeal to gangs and politicize them. That's what Tanya Himba confirmed to me. It was part of his Black Panther family's movement to get peace truces between the Bloods and the Crips in Los Angeles and have that spread nationwide. And it was so successful, and Tupac was instrumental in helping it happen throughout the country, that Bloods and Crips were turning into left-wing activists around the country. One Crip leader spoke at a black socialist conference of a group called Panther in England, in London, England. They were doing really good work in stopping killing each other, stopping the drug dealing, and actually turning on to activism. That was another reason, of course, Tupac was targeted. Mutulu Shakur, while he was in prison, had fostered Bloods, Crips, peace truces in the prison system. And for that, he was also advising Tupac the whole time. Every time Tupac visited him in prison, they would discuss strategy. That's what Tupac's thug life was. It was only pretending to be this gangster in order to appeal to gangs, politicize them, also to reduce their amount of damage they did to communities while they're drug dealing, saying if you're going to deal, you only deal in areas that aren't near any kids and things like that. He also tried to politicize other rappers with forming the Thug Life group and get rappers to become more political and more active. So that was a major concern of U.S. intelligence also. So he was doing a lot of activism, though. He was even speaking out for voter registration and just doing a lot of different forms of activism, starting community centers and all that. But Suge Knight and Dave Kenner were creating terror all around him, creating terror in the rap community. Chased Dre out. Dre was the creative force behind Death Row, left with no money. And then eventually, when Tupac was done his 3 CD contract, he started his own record company called Euthanasia Records, started his own film company. His mother's close friend, Yasmin Fula, ran those companies. Yasmin was the wife of Sekou Odinga, who was a close friend of Lumumba Shakur's. Sekou was the founder of the Bronx Black Panthers with Zaid Shakur, Tupac's uncle. And Sekou Odinga is still a political prisoner right now. Sekou and Yasmin's son, Yafu Fula, he called himself Gaddafi, was a backup singer, rapper for Tupac and the Outlaws. And the night of Tupac's assassination, he was very, very worried about going to Las Vegas, but he had to do a benefit show. A judge ordered him to do a benefit show in Las Vegas for a weed possession charge. And so he thought he had to go, even though he tried to back out of it. Actually, one of his two bodyguards said that he basically told Tupac, "Don't go to Vegas. You know, just get out of here. Don't go to Vegas. Get out of here. Go to Atlanta. Go near your business manager, Watani Tayyip, in Atlanta." And what I strongly believe is that that bodyguard basically turned on the FBI. Okay, turned on the FBI, and for that he says in the movie Biggie and Tupac, they set him up. They set him up and jailed him for many months on a gun possession charge. You know, here's a guy who's getting paid by the FBI, and he's charged with illegal gun possession, and he's put in jail for months. But death row, as soon as they found out that this bodyguard was telling him not to go to Vegas, they fired him. And so Tupac ends up realizing he's got to go to Vegas anyway because he's court ordered to do this benefit. Suge Knight gets him not to drive his Hummer, but to drive in his car, and all of a sudden there's no bodyguards in the back seat like they're supposed to be, in this situation. All of a sudden the bodyguards aren't allowed to carry their guns. They're told they're not allowed to carry their guns that night. They're given cell phones without batteries in them that aren't working, and here comes a professional assassination. A white car pulls up the side, shoots 13 bullets at Tupac from Tupac's side. Not one bullet directly hits Suge Knight, and he's killed. And even the FBI documents that came out on Biggie, the police say this was a professional hit. This wasn't just some gang-banging hit. This was a professional hit. It's clear. To have that many bullets coming at you, and it's Suge Knight's twice the size of Tupac. Not one hurts him at all. If you can argue if one did graze him, it's like not one directly hits him, but all those bullets are coming at them. So Kathy Scott, who was a crime reporter in Las Vegas, just has a page and a half of police foul play around that whole incident. Everything was different than it ever was before. Even though the police said this is the biggest murder in Vegas in decades, they didn't send out a man-hunting helicopter they usually send out. They didn't close down the scene for evidence. They didn't detain all the witnesses. This is, as Chris Rock said, this is not even a Mike Tyson fight. There's dozens and dozens, if not hundreds, of witnesses to all this. But they say they had no witnesses. They didn't detain anyone who witnessed it all. Yafu Fula was riding a car or two behind, and he said he thought he could identify the shooter in a lineup possibly. They ignored him and said, nope, there's no forthcoming witnesses. He said he's ready to do that. He's ready to try to identify him in a police lineup. They ignore him. The night of the next Mike Tyson fight, Yafu Fula, the son of the Bronx founding Black Panther, the backup singer for Tupac, a rising star himself, is shot in the head. Murdered, just murdered. And he did no criminal record. Time magazine said he had, it was apparently drug related. He had no criminal record at all, Yafu Fula. And so it was obvious that they were killing off the top witness. During the time that Tupac was in the hospital and struggling for his life, Death Row spread the word that the Crips killed Tupac. Okay, And all of a sudden, the Blood Crips peace truce throughout LA ended, and there was lots of murders. Lots of people were killed during that week, until finally activists spread the word that they don't think the Crips killed Tupac. They think it was someone else, and the shooting stopped and the murder stopped. And they tried to keep the peace truce going again, try to get it going again. But it's just incredibly sad. They turned that into the East Coast versus West Coast rap war. You still have articles coming out. You still have these undercover agents in the media pretending like Biggie and Puffy killed Tupac. Russell Poole, this high-level police detective, says he found at the end of his investigation that that Suge Knight and Death Row Records, well, he basically said his fellow LA police officers in Death Row Records killed Biggie Smalls in order to cover up their murder of Tupac Shakur. And that's what he came out with. You're not going to see that in the mainstream media, of course, but it is in the book Labyrinth, it is in the film Biggie and Tupac. Of course, it's in my film. The only place those publications stop short in is they act like it was low-level, corrupt police. I, of course, argue it was part of the pattern of it was probably assassination attempt number 6, the only one that succeeded. And I offer all the evidence of how all the others were U.S. intelligence related, much more than, of course, I could just tell you in one sitting. So, and police targeting of political rappers continued, after that, and to the point that they have rap units. It came out that they have rap intelligence units, and they talk about the hip hop cops you might have heard of as just profiling. They're not just profiling; they're murdering. They're murdering rap figures, and I show evidence of why I think they are continuing to murder rap figures. And the reason I put out this book is I'm just hoping that putting out the evidence helps stop it, and somehow helps stop it. I've had this book out for 4 to 5 years now, and only one mainstream print publication ever. Actually, there might have been a second in an editorial down in some very small city in the South. Might have been actually Durham, North Carolina. But besides that, there was only one mainstream publication that published information from my book when they interviewed me in Baltimore, my hometown in Baltimore. And it was a Baltimore City paper. They did an interview of me. And thankfully that got picked up by the Associated Press, that a lot of black publications repeated what I said a bit nationwide, but no other mainstream print publication has ever said anything about my book and the information in it or my film. And the guy that interviewed me was fired within a year. He had been there for about 5 years at this, and they let him go, and I still haven't found out why. But anyway, we were actually about to produce a much bigger article together. We were going to write this thing together based on Biggie's FBI documents, which came out, which revealed so much more on Biggie and Tupac's assassinations. So I'm going to stop there right now. I know that was a good amount of time, but I want to ask if, I'm sorry it's gotten so late, I want to ask if there's any questions. And Hakeem, I'm sorry to keep you so long. It's not Hakeem, I'm sorry. Where is he? I thought I saw him way back there. Anyway, guys, any questions about all that information?
Well, I'd like to know, I'm sorry, were you in the middle?
No,
I'd like to know if you've ever had any unusual things happen to you, unfortunately, as a result of your work and your devotion to this particular cause.
Well, I now have a delay on my cell phone where my messages, any out-of-town messages come about 2 days later to me.
Wow.
Yeah, and so when they're in-town messages, sometimes they're delayed, sometimes not. But out-of-town messages usually are delayed. It's as if they're being checked first before they're allowed to come through. So that's one thing. There's actually, you could probably list a dozen different things. but you know, a professor from Delaware State tried to he said he wanted to be my PR man, and he had friends like a top radio guy whose name I forget off the top of my head, but he's a national radio guy, and a professor somewhere else, and he had like 4 or 5 people he sent my book to that have big exposure. Only one of the, I think it was 4 people, and one of the 4 received the book, and that person had his book, the package torn open, and the book was very messed up, and that was like the least big of the 4 key people they sent the book to. And then he tried to email me, and our emails wouldn't work together all of a sudden. And then now he's it's just terrible. He's up on criminal charges for his class protesting something that was happening at a school, and the school said, well, you can't teach here until these criminal charges are done. And this was a while back, and the criminal charges are still pending. They're still going through the court process. So I said, I don't know if it's all related or not. He said, all I know is ever since I've been trying to be your PR guy, a lot of bad things have been happening. And so I'm basically, I am censored most places. I mean, only independent bookstores will sell me. Like this great bookstore, BlackandNobel, Barnes & Noble won't touch my book, of course. They pretend like they sell it online, but they won't touch my book. No mainstream bookstores will touch it. No mainstream print media, newspapers will touch it. Some radio stations have covered me. I've had a dozen or 2 interviews, so that's good. But it's usually AM stations. An AM station in Baltimore, for example, they had interviewed me a few times. They gave my book to the FM station that they shared a building with, and that guy, said, "Sure, I'll check it out. It looks great. I look forward to I'll read it and have you on." And I never got a call back.
I have a question. Jam Master Jay, you mentioned him in your book. There's so much mystery surrounding his death.
Yeah.
Why was he,
Well, the Baltimore Sun said that he had turned into an activist in his later years, and so in the New York recording studio shooting of Tupac, they had a surveillance video camera of the whole incident. Mm-hmm. The guard said he took the film out and offered it to the police, and they rejected it and closed the case. Same thing happened with Jam Master Jay. They had it all in film. And we've never heard anything about the film since.
Right.
And it was an execution, Jam Master Jay. Someone came in and just executed him.
Right.
So,
okay, he became an activist.
Yeah, that's what the Baltimore Sun said. I don't know all the ways he became an activist, but that's what I heard, yes.
Okay.
That's what they said.
Well, you got... I haven't read the book yet because I just got it today. But now you got Bob Marley here.
Sure.
Now, Bob Marley, well, as we know, is supposedly died from cancer. Is there anything in the book that's saying that wasn't the case, or is it just a situation of throughout his career he was just watched, maybe by?
No, I think he did. He did die of cancer.
Right.
I think he died of cancer, but. They first tried to kill him. They first tried to shoot him. It came out. He was shot before a major concert. He was going to hold a major concert on behalf of his friend, the Socialist Prime Minister of Jamaica. Okay. The CIA was supporting his opponent, who was for the rich in Jamaica. It was very anti-socialist, and there was a gang that was like a military gang that was closely associated with that opposing political party that the CIA supported. That gang, members of that gang first started extorting money from Bob Marley and said, you better pay us a regular amount or else we're going to kill you. And then they shot up his house. They shot Bob Marley, they shot his wife. And his business manager at the time came out with a memoir recently basically saying that they eventually caught up with the guys that did the actual shooting, and they said they were paid by the CIA to kill Bob Marley. So so Bob Marley, the socialist prime minister, got Bob and his wife and the Whalers, put them all in an encampment surrounded by soldiers, surrounded by Rastas, and there was a film crew that was going to film the whole concert, and so they did a pre-film interviews of Bob Marley in the encampment. They were allowed in the encampment. One of the crew was a former Black Panther named Lee, and he said that they got a new member of the crew that was really good with certain technology. They allowed him on the crew. He came in with them, and he offered Bob some gift shoes, some gift boots. These really nice gift boots. Bob Marley put his foot. It's customary for Rastas that if you get gifts, you're supposed to try it on immediately. So he tried it on the boot immediately, and got stabbed by something in his right toe. And he took his foot out, and he found that there was this sharp metal thing in the boot. And he thought nothing of it. And Lee was there and watched this. No one thought anything of it. That was just a defect in the boot or something. But then a few months later, when Bob Marley was playing soccer, his toe just crushed, like it was brittle and just crushed. They found there was cancer in the toe. It spread throughout his body quickly, and he died a few years later of cancer.
I'm glad you mentioned it, because I read that in your book.
Yeah.
And
they think, a lot of researchers think that Bob Marley's business manager said he was poisoned by it, because they found that that guy who became part of the film crew was the son of the CIA director. Yeah. So, yeah, it's just disgusting. It's really horrible. So they're taking, our great musicians and our great leaders from us. I consider, these guys, my leader, because these guys were, they were trying to change society for the better for all of us. Anyone who's not super rich. It's what the Black.
I can see why they're giving you problems about this book. They don't want this information out.
Thank you. So, any other questions, guys?
I have a question. I see Mumia helped write the foreword in your book.
Yeah.
Do you have any information on him? A lot of times you live in the city where the problem took place. It's like a blitz here. We don't hear but what actually goes on.
Right.
So what
I have a whole chapter on Mumia.
Okay.
Because I think of course he's just an incredible man, but he's a great leader. He was Minister of Information, of course, in the Philadelphia Black Panthers when he was still like a young teenager, about the same age as Tupac when Tupac was head of the New African Panthers, and of course Mumia continued to be a great writer, and so I argue that the incident in Atlanta was what's called profiling. It was a psychological profiling. They figured if we have now I'm not sure of this, but Chokwe Lumumba, Tupac's national lawyer, who's head of the New African People's Organization, agrees with me about this. He says they started profiling in probably around 1970 or so, and so they figured if we had some white officers beat up a black man right in front of Tupac's car, he's going to try to stop it, being the kind of activist that Tupac is. He's going to try to stop it. They got it slightly wrong. Tupac rolled down his window and screamed what's going on instead of coming out of his car. If he would come out of his car, he'd be dead. Tupac, was just so, he was very wary at that point, so he didn't follow the plan right, and he survived. But I argue that it was psychological profiling to draw Tupac out of the car to kill him at that point. Since he didn't come out of the car, they were forced to run to the car, smash his window when he went back up real fast, and to shoot at him. I argue that the same thing happened with Mumia. It's way too coincidental that Mumia's brother is beaten bloody within earshot of Mumia. The night of Mumia's shooting, this officer stops his brother. This guy in the car with Mumia's brother says he was in the army and he knows all kinds of people and he was led to do something, and that was to lead Mumia's brother close to Mumia to draw Mumia into a scene of his brother being beaten bloody. His brother screaming, being beaten over the head with a flashlight by Officer Faulkner. And then Mumia runs to the scene, but he doesn't follow, with the psychological profiling. He doesn't bring a gun. He doesn't bring his gun. He runs unarmed. He runs the scene and he's shot. Somebody has signed an affidavit saying that I was hired to kill Officer Faulkner. He was a guy he was a lifer in prison, but he said, "Look, he signed an affidavit. I was hired to kill Faulkner." This other guy, who matches the description of the guy that led Mumia's brother to that scene, was then identified as the person that helped in that shooting of Faulkner. Okay, and then there's just massive evidence. Now not everyone knew what the full plan was, but it was obvious that the plan was to kill Mumia. And they shot Mumia, but they didn't shoot him enough times to kill him. And then they tried to get him, execute him on death row. And thankfully they were unsuccessful. But I argue that it was an assassination attempt using psychological profiling to lure Mumia into a situation where they could kill him and cover it up. They did the same thing to Huey Newton. They did the same thing to Huey Newton back as early in about 1971 or 2. They put the FBI rented a room right next to Huey Newton's. They had a drug dealer in that apartment, and then they raided his apartment early in the morning, and started creating this ruckus. And they had tons of guns, and they created this ruckus, and they right outside of Huey Newton's door. Huey Newton did not take the bait. He wrote about it, but he says, "This is too fishy. I'm not coming out of my door to let them kill me. This is just way too fishy." So he says, "They didn't kill me then, but I know." He later found out who was renting that apartment next door was the FBI. They were trying to assassinate him, right there with that incident. And that was psychological profiling, trying to create a scene, trying to attack a black man that's living next to him, and then draw him out to kill him. Say he got in the line of fire and have an automatic cover up. So.
I have another question. Cody Monster, why was he targeted? I mean, he was in prison for a long time, wasn't he?
Right.
So
yeah.
What made him?
If you've ever read his book Monster,
right.
It became a best-selling book.
Yes, it did.
And he was a gang leader, and he became part of this Bloods, Crips, Peace Truce movement eventually too.
Mm-hmm.
So that was a concern of theirs. He became a socialist in prison.
Socialist?
Yeah, he became a socialist and Marxist leader. He describes how loads of his associates became Marxist leaders in prison, became Marxists in prison, socialists, trying to change society for the better for the great majority of us. And and he changed his name to Sanika Shakur out of his solidarity with Tupac. His girlfriend actually sent me some tapes of him talking to Tupac and planning things together.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yes, it is.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Yes.
Can you talk about your association with PAM Africa and the On the Move?
Yeah, sure.
The different movements that you're involved with here in Philadelphia. What people don't know is that PAM Africa actually introduced us to John and said that he needs to be in our forum, in our loop, and so.
Sure. Yeah. I guess first met Pam because it took me a long time. I first wrote an article about what I thought was the FBI targeting Tupac Shakur in January or February of 1995. Tupac had just been shot in the New York recording studio lobby. I read about it. I read about some foul play around it. I'd already been studying the Black Panthers at that time. And I called Tupac's New York trial lawyer and I said, "Do you think they're targeting Tupac like they targeted his Black Panther family?" And he said, "Yes," and no one's writing about it. So I mentioned all these political magazines that I wanted to try to get an article published on it in, and he knew of them all because he was an activist himself. And so he gave me a long interview about it. it took me, I published locally in a small, magazine in Washington, D.C. at the time where I was living, and but I couldn't publish any of the national activist magazines until 1998, and finally in the 1988-99 issue of Covert Action Quarterly, which was started by a CIA whistleblower, they published my article on the targeting of Tupac Shakur. I thought was the FBI targeting of Tupac Shakur, and the cover story of that article, of that magazine, that issue of the magazine was Mumia Abu Jamal. It was all about the targeting of Mumia, and so Pam Africa, when she read the whole magazine, she saw my article, she called up publishers and said, this is a really important article. Thanks so much for publishing this. I had no idea that Tupac, was like this and was, so important and was targeted. And so the publisher called me and said, Pam Africa, I really loved your article. And I was like, wow, great. And she said, she thought it was just really important for for people to see that. So when Watayi Tayihimba said, you got to turn this article into a book, I ended up thinking to myself, well, I'll reach out to someone who said they liked it, who liked the article, and it's Pam Africa. And so when I introduced myself, she said, oh my God, you're turning into a book. It's great. I got to help you out with that. Let's see what we can do. And so she said, I got to get Mumia to contribute to it forward. So that's how it all came about. Thanks. Any other questions, guys? Coming from Baltimore, so I don't know if there's going to be too many more times I'll be up in Philly. I'm sorry to say, so feel free now. It's not that last chance.
Robert F. Kennedy. What information you have on him?
Well, the same. There's 18 police divisions in Los Angeles. The same one that had a major person involved in targeting Tupac. That division also helped the CIA cover up the assassination of Robert F. Kennedy. And there was a strange kind of coincidence at that time. And a guy who took pictures of the assassination of Robert F. Kennedy finally had his trial coming forward in the summer of 1996 when Tupac was being targeted. And a Los Angeles reporter said, it's the strangest thing that Los Angeles is not using one of the 100-some lawyers that are part of the government to work on this trial. They're hiring outside private lawyers, and he says, "What in the world is this about? Why aren't they using their own lawyers on this?" And I argue that's because if they use government lawyers, they might have gotten a whiff of what was going on in that precinct at the same time while Tupac was being targeted and all these undercover operations were going on. His death row records was drug trafficking, there were gun running, as well as targeting Tupac and targeting other people in the rap community and the rap community nationally. So there was a lot going on in death row records at the same time, and I don't think they wanted it to be found out about. Now there's more parallels than that, but you'd have to read the chapter to see it all. I mean, RFK actually asked Martin Luther King to be his running mate, president. He was going to be the next president, RFK. And there was a little doubt after he won the California primary.
Now I have a question. Jimi Hendrix, musician.
Yeah.
Why was he pointed out? Because I see he has a place in your book also.
Yeah, after Martin Luther King died, he was really upset and got very radical politically. He started supporting the Black Panthers. He dedicated his last album to Black Panthers.
Last album?
You know
the name of the album?
I don't remember now.
Oh, okay.
But I think I have it in the book, but I'm not sure. I know he was doing all kinds of stuff. He asked Bob Dylan to start a political movement with him. And there's an interesting thing that I'm writing about in my next book, actually, that they were going to form a political supergroup at one point with a member of the Rolling Stones that was assassinated too.
Remember the Rolling Stones?
Yeah, it's for my next book. I'm sorry.
Oh,
but
wow.
But so it was he was really getting intensely radical, you know, political, you know, in a good way. You know, he was trying to stop the war and everything. He'd done an anti-war, you know, concert, and his manager, who said he was former British CIA, I argue he was current British CIA, dosed his drink with acid. I'm sorry, Zanji, should we finish up? But,
we have a point that you wanna.
okay, so that's basically
Since you started getting into the other book, you're like, yeah, we can stop.
So guys, thanks so much for coming and asking these good questions. If there's any last question, throw it out there. But you know, the rest of it's of course in the book.
You autograph the book?
Oh, I'd be glad, love to. Thank you.
So, you know, John loves coming up here to Philadelphia to, you know, BlackandNobel, just being involved because
Except
of that.
rush hour.
Except in rush hour. Yeah, I call it rush hour on the way up here. But it's the energy. It's really because of y'all guys, you know, people like yourself. That's what I tell all the readers when the authors come and when people come to lecture. It's not because of BlackandNobel. It's because of the people that come to BlackandNobel. You know, it's a whole different vibe than other places. We appreciate that of you. You guys make him want to come up.
Definitely. Thanks so much, guys. Seriously.
Thank you.
Thank you. You have to keep it real, right? Yeah.
But it's also got chapters on Jimi Hendrix, of course, again, but Kurt Cobain and John Lennon, along with some black leaders and some white leaders.
What's the name of the book? Did you give it the name?
Well, it's tentatively titled "Drugs as Weapons Against Us."
Drugs as Weapons Against Us. Oh, great, great.
So it was a little bit of a sub-theme in this book. His Tupac was getting away from weed at the end of his life and getting away from partying and clearing his head up, because I think the weed, as I said, in New York and in the night he died, I think it was used to cloud his head just enough to get him off his game to help set up his murders. You know, his attempted murder and then his murder.
Right. Okay. They use that. Okay.
Yeah. But thanks a lot. What's your name?
K-A-R-I-N.
Thanks so much. Guys, and if you're very welcome. If you can't get me by the email in my book, I don't think I've gotten a personal email by that email in a long time. I think it's being censored. I don't know for sure, but it's I'm just not getting it. So I have another email. I think it's on the website. I think my other email's on the website.
Yeah, well.
Yeah, so you can see the website name on the back of the book.
Right.
Yeah. Okay.
Thanks.
Sure. Sure.
I wonder if I can get that in the Hip Hop Weekly.
Yeah, that book right there. I got that book.
Thanks, Steve.
That's the author right there.
Yeah.
You did all the research.
Yo, you came to Cheney before. How you doing?
All right.
I don't remember you probably remember me. I remember you and your sister, right? Your sister over there?
Yeah, my sister still live out that way.
Yeah, up in Lincoln, right?
Yeah, wow, I'm a Lincoln.
Oh.
Don't worry. Don't worry. I'm a Cheney family as well.
It's all
Cheney
family.
family.
Make them aware that a lot more people are getting aware of it, so they have to slow it down or stop it. They're going to get caught.
Yeah, well, if anything, you know, like this, small group of people will know about it and they can protect themselves.
Yeah.
It's hard to get out to the media.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
It's hard to really get it out.
Yeah, I
They work in small venues and so on. Small
Yeah,
places.
Thanks. Thanks so much, guys.
We came just to buy a couple of DVDs and This was a really spectacular night.
And guys, if anyone's interested in the DVD, I got a film, 85-minute or 80-minute or 85-minute film based on the book. It goes for $15.
He was just saying he got a chance to put coming out.
Few of them. Thanks a lot. It shows a lot of government documents. It shows the sources, book sources. It shows a lot of people, like what Tiny Imba. Thank you. It's hard to find the film anywhere else. So yeah.
How long is the DVD?
85 minutes. Yeah, it's actually in English and Spanish too. But feel free to show it to anyone, anywhere, anyhow, friends over, whatever you want to do it. Whatever you want. Feel free to copy it for people.
Nobody can argue about itself. The same way that they pull
Thanks
up
so
on
much.
you.
Great seeing you. Yeah, sure.
Okay. And also, one more.
How you doing? Just come pay my respect. I watched the book before, man. Activism, I love one of my friends, bro. I've never seen the kid. I know she still has it though, but yeah, it's a lot of good information.
Appreciate you reading it.
Yeah, you know. I saw it, I just was like, wait a minute, what? Let me go through this. It's crazy about Jimi Hendrix though. When I read about that, when I read his case, some of that stuff I never know. Because even when I explain to people, they just sit there like, nah, didn't he die of an overdose or wasn't he drunk? I'm like, nah, man, this book I read, he said he drowned or something, right?
Yeah, well, they basically they killed him in some way. I'm not sure exactly how.
Yeah,
but there's so much foul play around it that it's clear that they killed him. The U.S. and British intelligence, it sounds like, collaborated to kill him.
It's like they do with Bob Marley. That whole thing in his foot and everything.
Right. It's crazy. It's sad, crazy. But it sounds like you might have gotten actually an early version of the book. A little more information came out since then that I read too, but it's all, you got the gist of it for sure.
About Bob Marley or about everybody?
About Bob Marley and Jimi Hendrix, because Hendrix, I don't know if you saw that his manager came out with a book that says I'm sorry, with Hendrix it was a roadie who said his manager confessed to helping orchestrate his murder.
Wow.
And then with Marley's manager said that they found the guys that shot Marley, and they said that the CIA paid them to do it.
Oh yeah, because of the whole political thing going on out in Jamaica.
Yeah, because Marley backed the socialist leader.
Yeah.
And the CIA backed the right-wing guy.
Yeah. So I definitely got the early version. Hey,
that's all right. It's close enough. It's 99% of 98% of the same thing.
Yeah, that's what's up, man. I just can't pay my respect.
Yeah, I appreciate it.
Thanks for putting it out there, man.
Thank you. 17.